It's Wednesday, February 12th, and this is now on HNN.
Breaking news, 2 police officers working with U.S. Marshals have been shot in Baltimore. We're tracking the developing details.
I don't trust the reporting in China. We're getting a skewed view of the case fatality rate and how severe this is.
Plus, as the death toll climbs, health officials say it's too soon to predict the end of the coronavirus outbreak.
A new report out this morning says poor FAA oversight allowed Southwest Airlines to put millions of lives at risk.
Beginning of the end for Donald Trump.
The first in the nation primary proved to be a lot less chaotic than the Iowa caucuses. I'm Laura Podesta with how New Hampshire's outcome is affecting the Democratic race.
Best in show goes to the Standard Food.
Yes! A new top dog is crowned. I'm Hillary Lane with all the action from the 144th Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jonathan here, your director producer here at This Is Now, alongside Ashley. We want to begin today with some breaking news out of Baltimore.
The U.S. Marshals Service says 2 law enforcement officers with a fugitive task force are injured and a suspect is dead following a shooting in the city's Frankfurt neighborhood. Officials say the officers were working on an attempted murder warrant when one officer was injured in the leg and the other in the stomach. Both were taken to the hospital with injuries described as not life-threatening.
All right, let's move on to the other news of the day that everyone's wanting an update on. We're talking about the virus, and there's been several new details released just in the last few hours.
The Center for Disease Control says the U.S. should be prepared for the coronavirus to gain a foothold in this country. For now, there are 13 confirmed cases in the U.S., but the numbers continue to grow in China and on a cruise ship being held at a Japanese port. Here's Michael George.
The mood is darkening aboard the Diamond Princess, quarantined off Japan. Coronavirus continues to sweep through the cruise ship, with at least 175 infections so far. Passengers say they're being treated well, but after 9 days at port, the strain is growing.
One of the passengers in the night were keeping other passengers awake, an old lady who was crying for a couple of hours in her cabin. Life isn't as easy as it was last week.
The Centers for Disease Control confirmed the 13th case in the U.S. was diagnosed in San Diego. Because of a labeling error, the woman, who'd been evacuated from China, was briefly released from the hospital. The CDC says it has taken steps to prevent that mistake from happening again.
The test itself was accurate. The issue was that the test wasn't run when we thought it had been.
China now confirms nearly 45,000 cases of coronavirus and more than 1,100 deaths. But the government says the infection rate is falling, triggering questions on Capitol Hill.
How comfortable are you with the numbers that are coming out of China?
Lawmakers discussed whether China is underplaying the crisis to protect its economy.
I don't trust the reporting in China. We're getting a skewed view of the case fatality rate and how severe this is.
The World Health Organization says the virus outside China appears to be less aggressive, which may provide an opportunity to contain the spread. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
And here at home, the state says 35 people are self-quarantined at home or hotels, and one man who returned from Hubei province in China remains under mandatory isolation at Pearl Harbor. Here's Lieutenant Governor Josh Green.
I'm not sure exactly what the process of reporting was for the gentleman. He didn't report at the other airports in Japan or any other country. So our team found it out. It would have been good if the individual was discovered in their country of origin, that they had been in Hubei province, and then we wouldn't have to ask the questions, was there any worry about plane travel or what have you.
The Lieutenant Governor says the man is in good spirits and is not showing any signs of symptoms.
All right, I wanted to show you this graph. CNN published this morning. And if you take a look at it, and I'll describe it for our podcast listeners, it really shows the number of confirmed cases of the novel coronavirus out there. And if you can see by this sort of curve in the graph there, the huge a spike or a peak of it is in mainland China. That's where we're seeing more than 42,000 cases there. And then if you look, there's barely any peak at all at other locations. It's all around the world. That's 465 cases we're talking about. And in that report we just saw, there appears to be some sort of obvious spike there in mainland China. That's what researchers are looking at, and that's what we're going to continue to follow here. Let's stay with this story. We have team coverage for you. What are we going to go to next, actually?
So more crew members are getting infected aboard that quarantined Diamond Princess ship off Japan. That's where an Eva Beach couple is stuck. Matt Rivers continues our team coverage.
We are doing everything in our power to maximize your comfort during your extended stay with us.
A Wednesday announcement for passengers aboard the Diamond Princess as the captain seeks to reassure them all is okay, saying the air on board is clean. But amidst his crew, there is palpable fear that the virus is spreading. CNN spoke with a crew member aboard the ship, Sonali Tucker. Speaking behind a mask, her message is urgent. Are you concerned that the virus is spreading amongst the crew right now?
Yes, it is, because the number of crew members who are infected is also increasing now.
At least 5 crew members have already tested positive for the virus. Sonali said she's had a fever and chills since Monday. She says her boss told her to stop work and stay in her cabin. She's scared. She's got it too. And how does that make you feel?
We just want to get back home safe without this infection. That's all we want.
When we talked, she'd been waiting to see a doctor for 2 days. Meanwhile, about 1,000 of her colleagues kept working because there's over 2,600 passengers on board that have been put in mandatory quarantine by Japan's government, forced to stay in their rooms most of the day. But the ship still needs to run, so the crew works side by side wearing masks and gloves, though Sonali says mealtime is most dangerous.
So we all remove our masks and gloves when we are eating, so we are all sitting in the same place and having food, and it can spread.
CNN has spoken to multiple infectious disease experts who express skepticism that the current quarantine system is the best way to contain the virus.
I think a lot of thought went into what to do with the passengers, but it puts the crew at increased risk.
Japanese authorities continue to defend their actions, saying they believe anyone who tests positive contracted the virus before the quarantine went into effect. Anyone who tests positive is brought off the ship and sent to local hospitals. Earlier this week, we asked a Japanese health official if the crew was safe. Is everyone on board the ship being treated the same way? What do you say to their concerns?
We are trying to treat all the people equally. However, we also know that crew members don't have private rooms like the passengers have, and they still have to work and help people on the ship. So it's not all equal. However, we're giving everyone on the ship guidelines for prevention.
Princess Cruises saying it's following Japan's quarantine guidelines, saying the, quote, Japan Ministry of Health has been the lead defining the testing protocols for all guests and crew. But the fact is, as long as Japan continues to insist on quarantining passengers on board the ship, the danger will remain because the crew has to keep working. There's mixed reaction from passengers on board.
The crew are being so good, and I know they're worried as well.
I do not feel the quarantine is working. It's a failed quarantine.
During our phone call with Sonali on Wednesday, she had to hang up. Are you still there? A doctor had finally come to test her for the virus. She'll find out soon if she tests positive. How do you feel now that the doctors came to your room?
I'm still scared because I don't want it to be tested.
The Diamond Princess will remain in quarantine until February 19th. Until then, the crew will keep working, more exposed to the virus than the passengers they're taking care of. Matt Rivers, CNN, Yokohama, Japan.
Man, I can't even imagine being on there and to think that a local couple from here is on there dealing with all that stress, and it'd be traumatic, just that waiting game.
Yeah, and the couple we spoke to yesterday, they were saying they have one of those rooms with no windows or balconies, and they're only allowed out 3 times a day for an hour.
And this aspect of that story we just saw, I would never even thought about the crew not having those private rooms. So they're in a way bigger contained space with many, many people. And it's just terrifying. I would hate to be there. It really makes me think about it. All right, let's move on to other news from the mainland and business news, that is.
A new report by the U.S. Department of Transportation's Inspector General says poor FAA oversight allowed Southwest Airlines to put millions of lives at risk. The 18-month audit was sparked by a whistleblower's complaint about a number of alleged operational issues at the airline, such as pilot training deficiencies and inaccurate information being provided to pilots prior to flights departing. The report found Southwest flew 88 planes it bought from foreign carriers without properly verifying their airworthiness. The report said those planes flew more than 150,000 flights, putting more than 17 million passengers at risk. Now, the airline says it's made significant progress in addressing the issues in the report and says all of those used planes have either undergone comprehensive inspections or are currently being inspected.
Ooh, things are getting exciting, and in the world of politics, we got team coverage for you today on Campaign 2020.
Right, Senator Bernie Sanders won New Hampshire's first in the nation Democratic presidential primary, but it's looking like Mayor Pete Buttigieg is still ahead in the delegate count. The primary also led to several candidates calling it quits. Here's Laura Podesto.
Bernie Sanders has won the popular vote in the first two contests in the race for the Democratic presidential nomination.
This victory here is the beginning of the end for Donald Trump.
The Vermont senator who beat Hillary Clinton soundly in the New Hampshire primary 4 years ago only narrowly defeated former Mayor Pete Buttigieg. CBS News estimates they'll each win 9 of the Granite State's 24 delegates, which means Buttigieg remains the top delegate holder. Coming in a surprise third was Senator Amy Klobuchar, beating out both Senator Elizabeth Warren and former Vice President Joe Biden.
Hello, America. I'm Amy Klobuchar, and I will beat Donald Trump.
CBS News exit polls found that half of Democratic primary voters decided on their candidate in the last few days, and 29% went with Buttigieg, 24% chose Klobuchar. Anticipating a poor showing, Biden left the state before the results were announced to campaign in South Carolina. Both he and Warren are emphasizing the nomination process is much larger than 2 states.
Our campaign is built for the long haul.
It ain't over, man. We're just getting started.
Biden believes he can do well with the more diverse voter pools in Nevada and South Carolina. That's also on the mind of Buttigieg, who has struggled to attract African-American voters.
I think the key is, first of all, to demonstrate that we are the campaign that can defeat Donald Trump. It is the top priority for so many Black and Latino voters that I speak to.
Buttigieg and the other candidates will put that to the test in the next contest. Laura Podesta, CBS News, Manchester, New Hampshire.
All right, and we are lucky to have with us again today Greta Van Susteren, host of Full Court Press, live from Washington, D.C. Aloha, Greta.
Aloha.
Any surprises in New Hampshire?
Well, I think Senator Amy Klobuchar surprised herself, finishing third. That was a huge win for her. Obviously, very disappointing for Vice President Biden. In fact, it was so disappointing, it was such a surprise to him that he left before the polls even closed and headed down to South Carolina, which is the next primary after the caucus in Nevada. Also, Senator Elizabeth Warren placing 5th. That's very painful to her. She also finished poorly in Iowa, and she was the front runner last summer and last fall in her party. So I guess the big surprise is that, who did so very poorly, and Senator Amy Klobuchar is the big surprise in the Democratic Party. Everyone expected Bernie Sanders to win, and he did win.
All right, Greta, let's talk Tulsi. We were talking about her yesterday. How'd she fare?
She didn't do very well, but that's sort of predictable because she's a very independent thinker. She's not your sort of run-of-the-mill Democrat. She will break ranks with the party, and that's oftentimes not looked with great favor on by those who are in the party and who are nominating. So it's no surprise that she didn't do particularly well. Plus, she had one arm tied behind her back because she didn't have the money. It's a lot easier to run for office if you have a lot of money. I mean, look at Mike Bloomberg. He's not even having to ask for donations. He's digging in his own pocket. So she always had a tough road. She was sort of the alternative Democratic candidate. She's broken so many times with the party that a lot of people within the party are annoyed with her. But, she stayed in. She's still in there. She sent off a nice tweet congratulating Andrew Yang, who left the campaign, and she asked for his followers to follow her. So she's not leaving yet.
Right, and President Trump got a record-breaking number of votes in New Hampshire. Do you believe that could be a sign of what's to come in November?
Well, he was in New Hampshire a couple nights ago for a huge rally, and he got a huge number of people attending this rally. So we sort of expected they'd get a big number. Plus, it's a lot easier to run in your primary if you are an incumbent. And the other two who are running are virtually. I mean, they had no campaign, they had no ads. Nobody really knew about him. Governor Wells from Massachusetts, but it's no surprise that President Trump had a resounding victory. What surprised, I suppose, is the number of people who turned out, even in a Republican primary, when the conclusion, it's a foregone conclusion. Everybody knew he'd win the primary.
All right, Greta, I'm wondering something, and I think a lot of people here in the Aloha State wonder this every presidential election. I'm looking at New Hampshire. They're the exact same size as us, same delegate count. Why are they so much more important than when we vote?
I'd like to know that too. And in fact, I'm in favor of having Hawaii go first, and I'll come out and cover it, because that's how I'll come to Hawaii and cover it if you get the first one. Look, there's a lot of complaints about who gets to go first. The Iowa caucus under fire because they had such a debacle trying to count the caucus. That's been a nightmare. It's still a nightmare dogging the Democratic Party. New Hampshire did better. They didn't have any problem counting votes, but let's face it, it's not very representative of the rest of the country. It's 93% white in Iowa, and it's about the same in New Hampshire. It's not a diverse electorate. But yes, they get to go first, and it's a Democratic Party gets to figure out their schedule of the primaries. But I think after Iowa's mess this year, I think we're going to see that schedule revisit 4 years from now. But I'm Team Hawaii. I'd love to have Hawaii go first, and I'll be there to cover it.
We'd love to have you here too.
I'll come early.
Of course, we'd love to have you, and I'm sure the candidates would love to campaign here as well. Looking ahead to South Carolina and Nevada, any predictions there? Do you think Senator Sanders and Mayor Pete are going to keep the momentum?
Well, Nevada's a caucus, and they have early voting caucus starting next Saturday. And Nevada's a state that has a significant Latino population, as well as the unions are very powerful there. You've got the casinos in Vegas, and they've got strong unions. So far, the main culinary union has not endorsed anybody. That's a disappointment to all the candidates because they have so many members. So it's unpredictable who's likely to win that. South Carolina, that's another interesting one because it has a significant African-American population, and Vice President Biden has been popular with the African-American vote. But since he performed so poorly in New Hampshire, you have to wonder, are some of the people in North Carolina, the African-Americans who would have voted for him in the primary, thinking, look, he can't win in the general election, so I'm going to go to another candidate. So it's all up for grabs, and it's fascinating. I have no way to know what's going to happen in the end.
All right, we'll watch it together. Thank you so much for joining us again, Greta.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see you on election night. Awesome. Love talking to her. So lucky to have her here on This Is Now. And we'll keep checking in with her throughout the campaign season as well. All right, let's take you outside right now. Look at Diamond Head. It was still a little cool out there this morning. And I'm hearing that the Big Island has the possibility of thunderstorms today, and that remains. Let's check in with Guy Hoggy for the very latest.
Aloha on this Wednesday. I'm Guy Hoggy with your HawaiiNewsNow.com forecast. We're tracking the disturbance that's been giving us all the wintry weather, the scattered showers, the breezy winds, and it's on the move. Slowly, the center of the storm will be moving off to the north, to the southwest. But still, thunderstorms are firing up over the Big Island, and some of that instability, some of that rain could come onto Maui County. The rest of the state will only see a few light scattered showers. We're also expecting the winds to lighten up as that storm system gets closer. So winds will be softer today than they've been, but they'll be back up to speed before the weekend. So for today, we've got a few scattered showers expected for the west end of the state. There could still be some heavy rain for the east end of the state as that storm system moves through. And temperatures still running a little bit on the cooler side, cooler than average anyway. Now the surf's on the way down. All the high surf alerts have been tossed out. Still though, we got some overhead sets on the North Shore, and the conditions will be cleaner because of the lighter winds. Remember, it's been so stormy over the last few days, and we got a little bit of something rolling into the South Shore at about 1 to 3 feet. So slowly the weather's going to get calmer and drier, but we're still expecting some scattered showers over the next few days, mainly windward and Mauka areas, and those winds lightening up through tomorrow, picking up speed again on Friday. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now.
Thank you, Guy. Now to some news here at home. Hawaii's UFC Hall of Fame champ BJ Penn was taken to the hospital after allegedly crashing his vehicle in Hilo last week, Friday. Now, Big Island police say at around 7:30 that night, they received several calls about the crash, including one caller who said they saw a black truck speeding when the driver lost control and flipped into an embankment fronting Prince Kuhio Plaza. Penn was identified as the sole occupant and driver of the truck. He was injured and taken to the hospital. Now, police say the investigation will include determining if Penn was operating the vehicle under the influence of an intoxicant, consuming or possessing liquor while operating the vehicle, and inattention to driving.
All right, so this next story has always been on my bucket list, but I've been too scared to go, didn't want to get in trouble. Talking about the Stairway to Heaven.
Right, the city is considering charging people to hike the famed haiku stairs. Officials filed a request for information, asking businesses and nonprofits for proposals to restore, operate, and maintain the stairs. Now, the Star Advertiser reports that the Friends of the Haiku Stairs intends to respond to the city's request. The nonprofit is considering different fees for Hawaii residents and visitors, and the stairs have been off limits for years, but people risk getting fined for the views and, of course, for the gram. The Board of Water Supply is responsible for the stairs and prefers removing it altogether. We're told the utility will decide how to move forward next month.
It's going to be interesting to see how that all shapes out. I mean, this has been going on for years, people getting tickets there, and you're right, it has just become the Instagram no-no spot for sure.
I would love for them to fix it, make it legal, and so, you know, everyone can enjoy it safely, and because I would love to do it too, but yeah, I don't want to get it. No. No.
I thought you were a little bit more risky than I was, but
I am a law follower.
Good you go. All right. Here's something I want to do too.
Me too.
I want to be an astronaut.
Yeah, NASA is hiring. The space agency is accepting applications for its next class of astronauts from March 2nd to the 31st. Now, the requirements include U.S. citizenship, a master's degree in one of the STEM fields, so science, technology, engineering, and math.
Not me.
And they must pass NASA's demanding physical fitness tests. Now, NASA currently has 48 astronauts, so this new class will begin training, and if selected, they could end up on the International Space Station or future planned missions to the Moon and Mars.
I'm just going to wait for the SpaceX flights, tourist flights to drop in prices, maybe. Because the grueling exercise part, that's not exactly my style. Along with that...
The master's degree?
Yeah. I don't think my communication degree is going to cut it. No. All right, we got some sports news to get to. Very exciting stuff coming our way.
Yep, the Davis Cup is back in Hawaii for the first time since 1992. U.S. team captain Marty Fish joined us on Sunrise to talk about it. Let's take a look.
It is the largest international team competition in men's tennis. Davis Cup captain and former world number 7 player Marty Fish joins us in studio. Good morning, Marty.
Thank you. Yeah,
How
thanks
are
for
you?
having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, so the first thing that we should mention is this isn't an exhibition. This is hardcore tennis. This is a lot of action that's going to be taking place in March.
Yeah, the exact opposite. I mean, I played Davis Cup for many years throughout my career, and those are the matches that I remember most. I've played and beaten Federer and Nadal and those, but I remember the Davis Cup matches. Yeah, those scrubs. But I remember the Davis Cup matches more than anything.
Yeah. Okay, so take us through some of the storylines. What are we going to see?
Well, we've got an awesome team. We've got a mix of young and old. The Bryan brothers are going to play. Probably, if you know tennis at all, you've heard of them. The greatest doubles team of all time. They're going to be our doubles team, and then we've got some youngsters on the team as well that are basically half their age. Riley Opelka, Taylor Fritz, and Tommy Paul will round out sort of the singles guys. And again, 2 different generations there, and as the captain, trying to mesh them together will be pretty interesting.
Yeah, how different is it to be captain this time around and to kind of like mesh that and kind of, I don't know if you have to manage egos, I don't want to say that, but I mean, it's different,
there's egos.
Right? There's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, they've got egos, no doubt. But no, these guys all genuinely like each other, root for each other, even on the tour. Davis Cup is the premier team competition in tennis, and it's the one that the guys want to play most in, representing our country. Getting the fans out there and being patriotic is huge, and playing in front of your home crowd is definitely big, because if we were on foreign soil they'd certainly be rooting against us.
Yeah, obviously we're hoping that we have much better weather in March than we had this past week. Do you look at conditions in Hawaii having any factor whatsoever in a tennis match?
Well, thankfully we're indoors, so we don't have to worry about. Yeah, so we don't have to worry about the wind, the rain, the humidity, stuff like that. Because I've come and played some exhibition matches in Maui and Kona, and it's been incredibly hot and windy. So we don't have to worry about that. It'll be nice and comfortable indoors at the Blaisdell Center, and we're excited, man. We're Davis Cup hasn't been to the island since '92. They came in Kona. Andre Agassi was on that team, so these are the future. The youngsters I was talking about is the future of American tennis, the present and the future. And then the Bryan brothers are going to play Davis Cup one last time. They're retiring at the U.S. Open this year.
Yeah, also really cool and worth noting, they're going to be having a number of clinics to kind of help the children that are here in Hawaii that are interested in tennis. You can learn from these guys, man. You can learn from the pros. It's all good stuff. We're going to have more information. The website is usta.com/Davis Cup, and we'll have a link to that on our website as well, hawaiinewsnow.com.
And that is certainly posted on our website right now. You can check it out. All right, we saved this for best for last yesterday, and we're doing it again today. We're talking about the Best in Show at the Big Dog Show on the mainland.
That's right. The winner of the 144th annual Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show has been named. There were more than 200 breeds vying for the top prize. Here's Hillary Lane.
The Best in Show goes to the Standard Poodle.
Yes! Siba, the black standard poodle, strutted across the green carpet at Madison Square Garden after being crowned top dog.
This is her final show. She's been out for 2 years, campaigning up and down the coast, out into the middle of the country. We've been showing like every week.
The prize-winning pooch advanced to the final 7 Tuesday night.
This is where all the breeders that have worked decades in their entire lives to develop something wonderful have came to show it off to the world.
Backstage, the lucky dogs were fluffed, pampered, and transformed.
He loves it. He jumped on my chest, gave me a high five. He loves to be out here and he loves the people.
Nearly 3,000 dogs from around the world competed for the coveted prize. Owners and handlers say the preparation goes beyond grooming.
It's like an athlete. It's all geared about keeping them happy, healthy, mentally, physically.
Before wowing the judges, some of the canines got to meet with spectators who traveled miles to see them perform.
Is this your first time?
Yes, it is. It's a lot of fun. We didn't know that we'd be able to come down in the basement and see all the dogs. It's really cool.
The top dog goes home with a ribbon, silver trophy, and the title of Best in Show. Hillary Lane, CBS News, New York.
A collective. Oh,
you can go down there and see all of them?
Scott Humber, our news director, if you're watching, we would like to put in a request right now to go to the Westminster Dog Show next year. Please. There's got to be someone from here competing. There's 3,000 dogs, so I'd hope we have some representation
I'm
there.
Sure. Someone from Hawaii.
We were talking during that story about dog breeds you grew up with. If you had a dog breed you grew up with, write a comment, let us know what it was, send us some pictures maybe on this comment thread. Mine, I grew up with St. Bernards, those big dogs.
We had Midwest, yeah.
Yeah, Beethoven dogs. We had 3 of them, I think, at one time. We might have had more.
3 at one time?
It was like, we had a farm area, so, we had the 3 big dogs. They would actually ride around in my dad's tractor scoop. They were that big, and they would ride around town, and it was a big show.
Do they drool as much as the movie makes them that?
Yes. And what did you grow up with?
I had a lot of labs.
Labs are great water dogs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They fetch, they do everything, yeah.
Good, loyal pups there.
Yeah.
Again, if you have a favorite dog or some dog pictures you want to share with us, send them in that comment thread right now. But until then, sad to say, there won't be a dog show update tomorrow, but we'll be here, guys. Until then, we'll take you outside.
Oh, no, that's Greta.
Greta's
Bye,
doing
Greta.
Bye, Greta. And we won't have her tomorrow either. But you'll have us, Jonathan and Ashley, for This Is Now. We'll see you then.